What's going on, Alabama fans? Coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about Ryan Grubb and whether or not he really makes a difference for Alabama, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Of course, he is going to be your new offensive coordinator. Joseph Goodman of AL.com wrote an article asking the main question if Ryan Grubb can put Alabama over the top and make them a national championship contender next season. Now, I do think this is a very fair and valid question to pose. He also posed a multiple valid questions throughout the article. Is Ryan Grubb really that good? Why did he get fired from the Seattle Seahawks after just one season if he is that good? To me, everything that I've read, talking to our Seahawks host here at Chat Sports, it really did seem like Mike McDonald of the Seattle Seahawks just kind of had a different vision for the offense there in Seattle. But look, they weren't that bad, considering the personnel that they had on the offensive side of the ball. And at the end of the day, they did still win 10 games. So I don't think really Ryan Grubb was the biggest problem with the Seattle Seahawks. But one of the biggest questions that I have, and then what Goodman also pointed out was, is he going to be able to commit to the run game here at Alabama? I think that is a massive question for Ryan Grubb. It's really going to, time is going to have to tell on that. We're just going to have to wait and see. Make sure you guys are following me over on Twitter. That's at Chris Chat Sports on Twitter. Post all of our Alabama content over there on my page, whether that's these videos right here, shorts, community posts, different questions and things like that. I put it all over there on my Twitter, so help me out. Go over there and follow me on Twitter. That's at Chris Chat Sports. Now, this is what Joseph Goodman said about Ryan Grubb. He said, with DeBoer, I'm not going to make the mistake of setting the bar too high at Alabama for a second year in a row. I think that's pretty fair. Most of us kind of probably did that. Turns out his shining record in the Pac-12 meant little to nothing in the SEC. There is positive momentum once again in Tuscaloosa, but let's start small. I just want to know if Grubb gives DeBoer the inside track on beating Vanderbilt. A little bit snarky there, but we'll keep going with it. Alabama intimidated the Vanderbilts of the college football world during the Nick Saban era. Vandy's win against Alabama last season wasn't some miracle caused by a fluke or a bad call. The Dores physically dominated DeBoer's Alabama. Now, that is pretty true right there. The Commodores definitely did really dominate that game, and really it was just embarrassing for Alabama. So let me know here at the pinned comment of today's video, guys. Does Ryan Grubb make Alabama a national championship contender in 2025? It's the pinned comment of today's video. So if that ad comes here on YouTube, that's totally fine. You guys can ignore it. Get down there, go vote, type Y for yes or N for no in the comment section for me right now. All right, so look, I go into every single season for the most part believing that Alabama is a good enough team to win a national championship, and that includes last year too. Was my expectation for Alabama to win the national championship? Absolutely not. I really just wanted them to make the playoffs at the end of the day. But I do give Goodman some credit for saying, look, hey, Ryan Grubb is a good, exciting hire, but let's just kind of check our expectations here going into year two. It's not necessarily going to be a new system, but it might be a different way of play calling for Alabama next season. You also have a new quarterback going into next season as well. You got to really be able to find a groove with that new guy. And he also brought up my biggest concern with Ryan Grubb, and that is running the ball. And if he's going to be able to do that enough in the SEC. In his 1 year, I know it's a very small sample size there, but in Seattle, 63% of his play calls were passing plays. It has to be closer to more of that 50-50 ratio if you want to have success in the SEC. It doesn't have to be, exactly 50-50, but you have to have more of a balanced attack if you want to have any success in the SEC. So we're going to continue to talk about that here on the back half of today's show, but today's show is presented by Game Time. You guys can get tickets to the big game. It's coming up here in just a couple of days down in New Orleans, and you guys can also use the Game Time Picks feature just to make getting tickets to the big game and to other live events even easier. Game Time Picks, super easy to use. It just filters out all the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value, whether that's going to Alabama basketball game, Alabama baseball, softball, also coming up here in just a couple of weeks probably. I don't know exactly when the season starts, but it's got to be coming up here soon. Always very fun events to go to in Tuscaloosa. They also have events in Birmingham, things that you can go to. Cat Williams. They have concerts, comedy, theater, sporting events. Pretty much if you need a ticket, Game Time can, set you up with a ticket there. They also have the all-in pricing feature. You toggle this feature on, and it shows you the total up front, so there are no surprise fees at checkout. They also have the lowest price guaranteed. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and redeem promo code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem promo code CHATSPORTS, that's CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. That link's in the comment section and the description of today's video. So download Game Time today. They have last-minute tickets at the lowest prices, all guaranteed. All right, so my biggest issue with, that take really was the Vanderbilt take at the end of the day. It was kind of snarky, but, honestly, it is what it is. Look, if you're going to choose games to nitpick about the offense being bad, the Vanderbilt game was not the game for it. This offense was actually pretty decent against Vanderbilt, considering, the circumstances of that game. There are plenty of other games that you could have picked from to criticize the offense for. The Vanderbilt game really, at the end of the day, was all on the defense. Man, you look right here, Alabama's offense for 17, almost 18 minutes of play, they were actually pretty damn good. They scored 35 points in that game, put up nearly 400 yards. Jalen Milroe was all right. There was 2 turnovers in that game as well. But really, at the end of the day, the defense really in that Vanderbilt game is really what was the biggest difference in that game. Vanderbilt over 400 yards in that game. And you talk about the third down efficiency for Vanderbilt. Really, I think that was the biggest talking point coming out of that game. Sure, very positive that your defense was able to force 18 third down attempts, but man, when you're allowing 12 for 18 on third downs, that is just not good enough. But I will give credit as well to Kane Womack. After that game, the defense really did get it turned around going down the stretch. So, like I said, when it comes to this take about Ryan Grubb, whether or not, he's going to make Alabama's offense better, this is not the game that you really should have pointed out. We're going to talk about a couple different games that really should have been noted if you're going to talk about Alabama's offense or lack thereof in the 2024 season. So let me know here in the comment section, what is your confidence level in Alabama's offense going into next season with Ryan Grubb calling the plays? Scale it for me 1 to 10 in the comment section. 1 on the low end, you have no confidence whatsoever, or 10, you think this offense is going to be the number 1 offense in the country and they're going to be able to go to the national championship. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section of today's video. All right, so really there are multiple games. These are the games really that I'm talking about here. The Tennessee game really wasn't that good. And all these games that I'm going to point out here as well, they're all against top 30 defenses. And you see the parentheses right over there. That is the scoring defensive ranks for these teams. So really, the Tennessee game is honestly the only game that you lost that you're kind of like, okay, Tennessee had a pretty decent defense, number 7 defense in terms of those scoring ranks there. But man, Jalen Milroe, multiple interceptions in that game, especially at the end of the game. That was really costly for you. You had an opportunity to go down there, score a touchdown, and at least send yourself into overtime or give yourself a chance in that game. But man, the Oklahoma game was absolutely abysmal. I mean, me, just like everybody else, especially after that pick 6 from Jalen Milroe and really the lack of effort from trying to make the tackle or at least push that defender out of bounds. That was just it for me. I wanted Jalen Milroe benched after that. Now, after the season's over, I see hindsight's 2020. Really, it's kind of up in the air. It is what it is. I get why Kalen DeBoer did not bench Jalen Milroe after that game. But, man, the Michigan game at the end of the day, that's just not it. Michigan had a lot of guys that were out for that game, whether that was injuries, going off to the NFL draft, whatever it was, hitting the transfer portal. That was a game that Michigan had a lot of players out, and you should not have lost that game. I don't care what their defense was ranked because, look, man, half of their defense did not even play in that game. There were also multiple games that you did end up winning, but the offense didn't necessarily look too great. I mean, the South Carolina game was just like, kind of the epitome of this season, right? Up and down roller coaster. At times the offense started flowing, and then at other times they just, couldn't get anything together. The Missouri game, yeah, you scored 34 points, but that was against a very, very banged up Missouri team. And I'm happy that Alabama got the win. I'm not trying to take anything away from these wins, but there are multiple games, the Georgia game as well. The first half, absolutely phenomenal. The second half, it was kind of a struggle to be able to score points in that second half. And then the Auburn game, look, you came away with the win. Auburn did have a decent defense last year. Their offense was really just, very bad at the end of the day. But look, there were more games than that Vanderbilt game that you really could have nitpicked if your biggest thing was, asking whether or not Ryan Grubb was going to be able to really transform Alabama's offense. And another one of the big questions is at that quarterback position as well. Alabama elected to not go into the transfer portal and take a quarterback. And USA Today asked that very question, if not getting a quarterback in the transfer portal was a good move or not. Look, they didn't really criticize not making a move in the transfer portal, but with the lack of meaningful playing time in the from the quarterbacks on this roster, I do think it is a fair question. But look, man, the quarterbacks that were in the transfer portal, this is On3's top transfer quarterbacks. I mean, you tell me who you would rather have over Ty Simpson. Carson Beck, he's got playing time, but let's be honest, do you really think Carson Beck is going to be any better than Ty Simpson? I mean, look, looking at this list right here, maybe you do think Carson Beck is better than Ty Simpson. That's up for debate, whatever. Considering Ty Simpson hasn't really played meaningful snaps yet. But I have a hard time looking at this list of top 10 transfer portal quarterbacks and seeing anybody that I would really rather have over Ty Simpson. Look, Ty Simpson's a former 5-star. You got a guy in Austin Mack who has a high ceiling as well, and then you got one of the best players out of high school football last year in Keelan Russell. Look, it's going to be a big question whether or not Ryan Grubb can actually make this offense really flow and be good next year, but I really just honestly would rather have what you have at that quarterback position right now. And who knows, maybe somebody else can pop up during the spring transfer portal window as well. But then you're also asking a quarterback to come in here and learn the new system in time for the 2025 season. I'd rather just stick with what you got.